There we go. And share a few thoughts with you on this topic of equanimity, balance, centeredness in the middle of the storm, all the various meanings of equanimity. And I want to share my screen, and I'm going to try to be equanimous balancing technology in a moment. So if you just bear with me, let me see. I want to show you one of my balance practices. One of my more fun, playful balance practices. Can you see my balancing rock there? Can you see that? No, where did it go? There.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And this is something I love to do when I go on my walks, whether mindful or meditative walking or regular walking. I love playing with rocks and finding where their balance point is. And I'll talk a little bit about that later, but I wanted to show you the picture so you'd have an image of what in the world is she talking about. So let me see if I can switch things back and unshare. How can I unshare? All right, this will be the challenge. All right. Oh.
Lori, if you just take your mouse to the top of the screen, it should say stop share.
There we go.
Right at the bottom. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not. Oh,
there we go. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Appreciate the help enormously, enormously. All right. And Jay, I think I forgot to controllingly mute people. If you could do that, that would be great. Sorry, folks.
I just don't want to mute you, Lori. That's all. Okay.
Yeah. But now that everyone's been so helpful, I'll make you all quiet. All right. All right. So when I started approaching this topic, I realized I was doing it in a pretty intellectualized way. And for heaven's sakes, isn't that my typical conditioned approach to so many things? As Bill and Susan have pointed out to us repeatedly, we're such a cognitive intellectual culture. For many of us, that's our go-to habitual response. Let me figure this out with my head. But then as I really tried to unravel, what does this mean to me? What does equanimity mean to me? I realized I needed to understand this
Oh, Lori, I just muted you. I'm sorry. Unmute.
Okay. Did you hear anything? Or should I start? Okay, we're
just
good.
A little bit. Thank you.
Okay, all right, a little bit rewind. So it's talking about unraveling and needing to understand equanimity as a felt experience in my body and my heart, just as Lee had talked about last week. And I think each of us in our own way need to find that doorway in. You know, my way may not be your way, but I want to share some of the doorways in that I followed. And for the rest, it's, you know, ahi pasako, you know, check it out for yourself, what works for you. So in order to have the experience of equanimity, I need to know how to recognize it when it shows up, to know how it feels when it's present. Now, with the other Brahma Viharas, that seemed easier to me. I have more experience with loving kindness, compassion, and joy. I can readily identify their warmth, their heart opening, their bubbles of delight and uplift. Equanimity at first seemed more elusive. My experience with it was less tangible. And equanimity does bring more intellectual, more wisdom-oriented insight qualities. And as Nayana Ponika Thera writes, and these quotes will be in the chat, equanimity is a perfect, unshakable balance of mind rooted in insight. But in its perfection and unshakable nature, equanimity is not dull, heartless, and frigid. Its perfection is not due to an emotional emptiness, but to a fullness of understanding, to its being complete in itself. Its unshakable nature is not the immovability of a dead cold stone, but the manifestation of the highest strength. Boy, that's a lot to begin to embody. And certainly coming to appreciate how equanimity really encapsulates so many skills and cultivations and aspects of our practice. So in bringing this wisdom aspect to the heart practices, to provide that balance and discernment, how does that really land for me? How can I understand those intellectual words? What occurred to me was some very concrete practices of balance, poses in the practice of standing and walking meditation, in other practices like my yoga practice, and of course my beloved balancing of rocks practice. Using my experience with these balancing activities, I could more clearly relate to the embodied sense of balance, the heartfelt sense of balance, of equanimity. And as I said, leading to the appreciating that there were so many aspects of the practice related to that equanimity brings together and what it feels like. I can feel into the experience of standing meditation and what it feels like to maintain a balanced posture, or of how the muscles in my legs feel when I'm doing walking meditation slowly, and the wise effort that's required for me to maintain balance as I'm walking, and noticing and accepting the initial awkwardness and wobbliness in this practice of walking slowly and mindfully, releasing the hindrances, restlessness that comes up. Why am I going so slowly? Can't you speed it up there? The aversion, this doesn't feel good. I don't like this. The gripping or doubting, I could be sitting and getting more out of my practice. So many aspects come alive during this practice of balancing my steps. The experience of acceptance of wobbliness with deep warmth, and savoring of the moments of ease, of grace, of delight, of balance that happen as I persist in this practice. Body, breathing, walking, calmly, easefully, balanced. That's equanimity experienced. I've also learned a lot about balance from doing yoga balance poses, and I have to admit, they're not my favorites. They still often feel very daunting and intimidating, and I can feel my conditioned responsive aversion. The teacher says, and now we'll do the balance poses, and I groan, oh, and of the anxiety. I'm going to fall over. I'm going to hurt myself. I'm going to look silly. I won't be able to do it. And all the doubt that arises just about every time. But just as in setting up my meditation practice, the ways Bill and Susan have taught us, I have to take time to set up my balance practice. I need to take a moment, not just forge ahead and to lift that leg off the ground and balance. That doesn't work too well. For me, I have to get grounded, feel the ground beneath my feet, take a breath, breathe into my feet, into my body, breath tethered to body, feet tethered to the ground. And putting my hand on a chair or a wall to stabilize myself, to ease myself into the balance pose and the focus. Just as we gather our attention in the sitting practice and bring heart and mind together, I need to do that to stay balanced upright as well, using all the skillful means of my meditation practice to ground, breathe, calm, settle, steady. And to sustain my balance, I also need to have the right drishti, in yoga terms, focus point. A focus that provides steadiness and stability and easy stillness. I know what it feels like to look outside my window and rest my eyes on the wreath on my neighbor across the street's front door. Just the right focus point. I notice when what comes and goes through the visual field while I'm gently resting on that focus point. Clouds, cars, people, just like thoughts, as they can be noticed and released. Keep coming back to my focus point that allows me to maintain balance, just like coming back to our breath in meditation is the foundation for sustained attention necessary for the cultivation of equanimity. I can feel into that view that brings steadiness and balance and stability as an embodied foundation of equanimity. Not too tight and not too loose, the Goldilocks approach that Bill often talks about. That's another physical aspect of balancing that helps me appreciate the feeling sense of equanimity. If I try to stand balanced and I'm clenching up my muscles too tightly, I'm going to fall over every time or get exhausted. And if I don't have enough tautness in my muscles, I'm going to wobble all over the place. So it's really breathing into and letting go of what I don't need to hold on to, and appreciating how to relax into and feel my way into balance without holding too tightly or being too lackadaisical about it, that right effort perspective. But when I seem to start losing my balance and toppling, my conditioned response is tightening up. That seems reasonable. This is like in meditation or life when I encounter a challenging experience, a difficult feeling, a painful memory, when the worldly winds come a-blowing. I can tighten up, pushing away or clinging. But just as in balancing postures at these challenging times, equanimity offers the wisdom of right effort. And this isn't necessarily easy. It seems to go against my natural instinctive reactions of clenching, of gripping. But equanimity says, ease up, broaden your perspective to stay gently focused, comfortably aligned on the breath and the body breathing. Give it space. I can notice and accept the imbalance, knowing that I need to move in some corrective and skillful way without constricting, without adding distress onto my pain. Thanissaro Bhikkhu writes, when you encounter suffering that you can't stop no matter how hard you try, you need equanimity to channel your energies into areas that can be of help. Equanimity brings the insight and wisdom to utilize our skillful means, to know what can be released, let go of, what I can just let be and accept, and what I can be with, as Jay states, in a more intimate manner. How I can bring a bit more ease, soothing, and stillness, even in the midst of the swirling winds, and hold steady with heartfelt kindness and compassion. So I've suggested a few activities and images and metaphors that work for me to deepen that sense of embodied experience of equanimity. But as I said earlier, be curious about how would that work for me? What works for me? Maybe I can't do balance poses. I have physical limitations. Where is balance in my life? Play around with it. Find your own stones to balance in developing patience. As Jay's quote was yesterday about filling up the water and releasing the mud. Patience to get to the clear water and see what works for you, ahi pasiko. So let's play around with this in our meditation and practice with curiosity and interest about where balance and equanimity shows up for us. Thank you for your attention. And now, what helps balance our bodies in this field of gravity with this breathing instrument that is already breathing? What can be loosened, softened, moved around, and feel free to play around. You might try standing meditation as a way to further explore balance and equanimity, or lying down meditation, or move in your seat to notice where your balance point is. Not the point that you've been instructed about, but like my rock, finding its own balance point with patience and interest. And how do we come to balance breathing in this body, ventilating this heart, mind? What space is required for balancing? Body, breathing, heart, and mind. Patience to settle. into some steadiness of attention. And just checking in. How is the body balanced in this moment? What might be released if there's too much tension? And what can be re-engaged if it's gotten too drifty? Back into balanced, gentle focus. And in the last several minutes, perhaps opening the field of awareness, dropping in some gratitude for the balance provided by Sangha, supporting each other alone and together in this balancing act of life. Oh, thank you all so very much